So, welcoming all of you to the masterclass called KANYA DAAN. This is a one-of-a-kind experience and topic that I have chosen. And it's very personal to my own journey of healing and learning and expansion. So, I decided to share it with all of you. And if you have gone through the initial poster that I shared the literal meaning of Kanyadan, and I simply translated the word into English, right? It was Kanya being girl and Dan being donation. However, this is not how we are supposed to understand the meaning of Kanyadan. Okay, it comes from the original texts in Sanskrit, and it has a very different meaning attached to it. However, over generations and over periods of years, the meaning has been changed, and it has had a very different mental and emotional impact on women and also on men. So let's get a glimpse. Let's go through the journey. Okay, so beginning with the meaning of Kanyadan. The meaning of Kanyadan comes from the original texts of Sanskrit, and the literal translation from Sanskrit to English has led to many misunderstandings. To understand the real meaning of Kanyadan, it is imperative to read the original text from which the tradition originates. So if you want to really understand the meaning of Kanyadan, it is imperative you go back to the ancient Indian wisdom and to understand the meaning from a deep soul perspective. Okay. Why the word daan, one might ask. Okay, so why is there usage of the word daan? So, as with any language, and especially with Sanskrit, the meaning of a word can be varied based on the sentence and the context in which it is used. For example, imparting knowledge to someone is referred to as Vidyadan in Sanskrit. In this context, Dan means to impart instead of to donate. Kanyadan has always been based on the concept of the father of the bride publicly providing blessings to the holy union after the groom had accepted the 7 vows based on equality, mutual respect, and companionship. So these were the 3 essential elements that were present in the union of the bride and the groom. And Kanyadan is a way for the father and the mother to give their blessings, to impart their blessings, and that's all. In the Vedic period, women had the right to pursue an education and then choose to marry or stay single. It was up to them. However, a lot of this changed after the influx of Mughals and later colonization of the country. The social structure, the systems, they all changed, partly due to the influence of foreign culture and partly in response to the increasing crimes against women. There are other factors as well. Okay, this is just to give you a glimpse. This led to daughters being seen as a burden to the family, and hence the false notion of Kanyadan set in. So there was a period before the colonization, before the social structures that we have seen in our generations of women getting married before us. So the concept of women being as burden, and there are words like paraya dhan, and we have heard all sorts of words growing up. But there was a time before that, and if you tap into the wisdom of that time, it was not seen and perceived like that. Okay, so now that we understand the original essence of the word Kanyadan, let's come to the systemic lens on it. Okay, how many of you here are aware of systemic lens in any way? Just give me a, hand. Otherwise, I will go into the meaning very deeply. So any one of you who is aware on the systemic lens or anything about systemic lens at all? I don't see anyone. I know Sneha is aware. Okay. Okay. I don't see. Okay. So when we say systemic lens, okay, when we look at a system, so each one of you, each one of us, we are born into a family system, right? Let's look at the system in which we are born. And the lens that we get about a relationship, about marriage, about how do we perceive such concepts, it comes from the origin, it comes from the family we are born into. Every issue that you face as a married woman, it might seem like an issue stemming from your marriage. It might seem like, can you go on mute? Who is this? Madhura, can you go on mute? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Every issue that you face as a married woman, it might feel like an issue that comes from your marriage, from the family that you are born into. However, it is only happening because of the lens you have had growing up in your own home, coming from your own origin, understanding the meaning of marriage from your own system. So when we say systemic lens, we are trying to look at the lens we are born with and we develop growing up about concepts like marriage, KANYA. It's like embedded in your blood and embedded in your stream, embedded in the way you think, embedded in the way you feel. And sometimes it's not easy to connect the dots, but it is our responsibility to understand where it comes from so that we can feel free from it, so that we can heal from it, so that we can have a fulfilled married life, a fulfilled life in itself. Okay, so let's go a little bit into the systemic lens. So when we look at Kanyadan, even though we have looked at the collective definition, we have seen that, the original essence is different. But even though you know this somewhere, it is very difficult to apply and practice it in your day-to-day life. That is why we need to understand the systemic lens we are born with, the systemic lens we imbibe, and we need to heal individually in our own experience. So each and every woman has a unique experience of Kanyadan because each and every woman is coming from their own respective family system. Each and every woman has seen models of relationship in their parents, in their grandparents, in their uncles and aunts, and it can be similar, but it is still unique to you and your experience of it. So please understand that each and every one of you will experience your entry into a new system and your exit from your previous system in a very different way. Okay. This comes from the experience of women in their respective family of origin. So on the top of your mind, think about your mom, think about your grandmom, and think about women that you have seen in your family growing up as married women. Only for now, okay, for this masterclass, think about the women in your house. And when I say your house, please think of the women in your family of origin, the house where you are born into. Okay, just think about them in the back of your head. Okay. Ancestral clock activates itself. I will come back to this one after reading the rest of the text. I will come back to ancestral clock. Each woman experiences a significant shift in personality after Kanyadan, and instead of working on healing from the generational roots of it, they simply start thinking of themselves as inadequate or small. They start blaming their partner or in-laws. They struggle to find their own freedom, their own space. They struggle to feel emotionally safe. They struggle to have desires as well. There are so many women I have worked with who just don't know how to keep their desires alive. And somehow they look for some approval from their husband, from their in-laws, and they look for some sort of validation, without which they are unable to find strength to make choices according to their own wish. This kind of personality change and this kind of shift is not because of the current system entirely. The current system is simply helping you to look at your own definition of what a married woman should look like, what a married woman should do. Now that I have gone through Kanyadan, I have to work on a different personality. I have to be this new person, and I don't know, I didn't have training for it, right? It's not like you are being trained into this personality shift before the process is happening. So it just happens, and we start having questions, but we don't find answers. Some women start ignoring their health. So these things, the personality shift that I'm talking about, it starts appearing in the form of ignoring your own health, ignoring your own needs. Sometimes women are just consumed in responsibility, and that is what they feel is their job as a married woman. This is just repetition of wounds that they have seen in the woman from their ancestry. Sometimes you don't even have to see the woman in your ancestry. It is there inside of you. Just like you have the DNA of your mom and dad, just like you have this DNA that can be tested and it can be known who your parents are. Similarly, the stories, the thinking patterns, they are all getting inside of you in the form of thought patterns, in the form of personality shifts, in the form of feeling this way where you start ignoring your own needs. You can heal from this if you know where your wounds are coming from, and when you find a space that can help you to heal from it and take you back to your connection to your original essence. Okay. Coming to ancestral clock. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about ancestral clock. So for example, this is not the kind of clock that we see at home. This is not the watch. This is not where, it's like, with each birthday, your age shifts. And that, I am 30 years now and I'm 50 years now. Ancestral clock is a clock that activates on an event to event basis. So this clock is a clock of events. And it is happening in the background. You just become a part of it. Ancestral clock, for example, when you go through Kanyadan, your family, your clock, everybody who has gone through Kanyadan before you, your mom, your grandmom, her mom, that clock activates itself. Every experience that is left unprocessed, it starts activating itself and we start becoming a conduit of it. We don't realize the kind of heaviness and the kind of emotions we start dealing with once we go through such rituals and processes. No amount of celebration and no amount of, rejoicing can take away the work that we need to do to emotionally become present in our own lives and in our own marriage. We need to understand the kind of impact these events are putting on us as people, as personalities, and how we perceive life. Okay. So I will elaborate more on ancestral clock, when I start giving my example. So I'm coming to my own example, which will help you understand these themes more into detail. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask few questions after this slide. Okay. All right. So my maternal grandfather, my Nanaji, he got married to this woman who died almost, I think, 2 years after their marriage. And she was about to deliver her first baby, and she was pregnant with him. And it was a 7-month pregnancy. When she died, she caught fire. And it is said in the family that it was an accident. So this is a woman who came into the life of my grandfather before my grandmother entered into his life. The first wife of my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, also went through the process of KANYA DAAN. And she was now part of my mom's and my family system. Her death was followed by remarriage of my grandfather in a very short span of time. And my grandmother also went through the process of KANYA DAAN and became part of this family system. Now, I would invite all of you, okay, please raise hand and tell me your point of view on how my mother, of course, I'm going to share, my story, but I want to understand from you how my mother and her siblings would be affected by this story, according to you. What will they understand about Kanya Daan, about marriage, and the importance of life of a woman? What would they perceive about the importance of marriage in a family? And whatever comes to the top of your mind, and I'm going to begin with Sneha, knowing that she has a little experience of systemic lens. So beginning with you, Sneha, tell me how, what would, so could you get the background a little? Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what would my mother and her, say, women siblings how will they be affected? What will they think about, being married and the process of Kanyadan, anything that comes to your mind?
So, I guess regarding your mother and her siblings, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So, regarding your mother and her siblings, their primary emotions would be affected by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
That is your grandmother and grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Since you mentioned that your grandfather's remarriage happened in a short span of time, and I also remember that you once mentioned in a workshop that when this accident happened with his first wife, he wasn't even there. And since she was giving birth, she was expecting at that time. So there will be a lot of emotions attached with the firstborn.
Right.
So even though if he wasn't physically there, there would be certain kind of emotions which a couple goes through when they expect a child.
Right.
So all these emotions, all these expectations would have been thrashed down. I mean, this was something very unfortunate and unexpected.
Right. So tell me, think from the point of view of Kanyadan.
Okay.
Okay. And tell me, how will a person's mindset, how will she For example, let me give a little more detail. For
Yeah.
example, this story, it's not like this story was shared with the children
Hmm.
very early. It was shared with the children probably when they were 12, 13 years old. And it's not something that was freely talked about. And I mentioned about how there was such a, short span of time between the two marriages. So just think about a woman, okay, a woman and her perception of marriage. And for example, the first thing that comes to me, okay, apart from all the technical knowledge and all the trainings that I have gone through, the first thing that comes to me is, when I heard of this story, I was like, how important is the life of a woman if she can be forgotten so easily? If she can just be, forgotten and not talked about, and if it can be replaced so easily. So how do I find my value as a married woman? I can die tomorrow.
And moreover, the person who is coming into the relationship,
Yeah.
she would always feel that she will never be an integral part. The way, the first wife was accepted, it would be more of a compromise state.
Yeah, think of the second. Okay, so if
Yeah,
I am the second wife, I will start feeling, and I know that this has happened with the first wife, and I will start feeling that, so tomorrow if I die, I will be forgotten.
exactly.
That is my value, and that is how probably married women are.
And maybe share because of this reason, we women, it's not particular to this story, but then we are conditioned in a way that, everything should happen according to the man in the family, should happen according to the husband's wishes.
Yeah, so see,
I
that is
mean,
what,
the man becomes the priority in the
yeah,
entire family.
so I'm going to talk. So even that comes from a very deep. So think, so right now, if I think about my grandfather, okay, if I think about my grandfather who went through this trauma, who went through the loss of his firstborn, his wife, and instead of being able to process the grief, it was almost like, from what I have heard, it was almost like the family persuaded him to get married again so that he's not sulked into the grief of it. And it was a way to escape the grief. It was a way to escape from the grief. And when I see that, when I look at that, I see how my grandfather could not even, process the grief that he has seen. And it was simply, I mean, I'm sure all of you have seen this in your third generation, second generation. Even now it happens, if someone dies, we simply talk about replacement. We don't talk about processing the grief and dealing with it and including that person and talking freely about them, even if they are no longer here. They are
And
still
this
a part. Yeah, tell me.
And this also sets a tradition, that men cannot express themselves. I mean, it is not acceptable to process the grief.
Yeah, so if
And
you
this affects our relationship to a large extent because women being emotional, I mean, their emotions are just seen while a man cannot show it. And then there is a lot of imbalance with respect to the understanding.
Yeah. If I see my grandfather, we think that we are going with man's wishes or women's wishes. But if I look at my grandfather, even though he agreed to the marriage, I don't know how much was it his wish or how much was it a way to just, move out of the numbness and just do something and just listen to whatever everyone is saying. So it's like, instead of demonizing either of them, if we go into the stories, if we see how a story is influencing my mindset. So when I got married, in 1 month of my marriage, I felt I went through a very, very strong depression. And I could not focus on my work. I could not focus on my married life. And that led me to the whole journey of finding the connection that I had with the words and concepts of marriage, of Kanyadan, and of the story of my grandfather who could never process his depression, who could never process his grief. So, depression is nothing but unprocessed grief that is sitting in your system for generations and generations. It can be because of exclusion of somebody. It can be because we shame somebody because we think they have done something wrong. It's it's just that if somebody is a part of your system, like I've written the first sentence, the first wife of my maternal grandfather also went through Kanyadan and was part of this family system. So she is a valued member of the system, even if she is not alive. And when we don't value the position of somebody who has now become a part of the system, who has always been a part of the system, we start exhibiting the unprocessed emotions of that story in future generations. So when I was going through my depression, I was not going through it because of something which is wrong in my husband or my in-laws. I went through my depression and my, struggle because of the unprocessed grief and the story that has been running in my lineage for over 65 years. And it is very important for us to look back when you are facing a problem in your marriage, when you are facing a problem after being married, even if after being married, sorry, even if it is not related to your conflict with your husband. Sometimes women, they don't understand how to take care of themselves, how to just stand up for themselves, how to do something that they want to do, how to make space for work if they want to work. So all of this is happening not because of your husband or your in-laws. This is happening because of your perception of the word marriage, your perception of the word relationship, your perception of the word kanyadan, and your perception of how married women should look like, should be like, and what you have seen. So I want to bring to notice, like when I was growing up and I did not know anything about systemic lens, I used to think that I will not become a woman who will not, who will get suppressed. I will become a woman who will work and who will do whatever she wants to do. So what you think is very different from what your body remembers, from what you have absorbed in your life growing up. And when you start experiencing your role as a wife, as a woman in a new system, your thinking, it takes a backseat, and all those bodily experiences, they start coming up. It becomes difficult to stand by your thinking. So a lot of somatic healing is required for you to get in touch with your essence. And as of today, when I think of my grief and my depression, it actually became an opportunity for me to connect with my ancestor. Just give me a minute. It often happens when I talk about her, I start coughing somehow, you know. Okay. So just allow me a 2-minute break, all of you. I will come back. Okay. Yes. So what I did when I went through my personality shift and, my changes as a married woman, and I started working on my emotions. I started working on, I found this coach who helped me with the systemic lens that we all have inside of us, but we don't know about it. We are not conscious of it. So I became conscious of it. And it is through my own body I started realizing that I am reliving somebody else's grief. Somebody who could not give space to the grief. I am simply trying to include them by living this depression. So when I included my grandfather's story in my heart, when I included the first wife of my grandfather in my heart, and I gave her space in my heart, my personality, it started shifting back to who I am. One second, I'm going to change the AC temperature. All right. Thank you, Sneha. So I want you all to think, okay, why have I written these questions and shared this story? Is because when you think of what you have seen as an example of marriage, the meaning of marriage, the meaning of Kanyadan, the meaning of how important it is for you to put yourself first, whatever you have learned about it, not consciously, but what you have seen growing up, how it must have impacted your belief system. When you start questioning, you start becoming closer to the truth of what is happening with you. Instead of questioning, why is my husband like this? Why is my, mom-in-law behaving like this? Why are they doing this? These questions are not helping you. I'm not saying that these questions are right or wrong. I'm not going into right and wrong. I'm simply trying to direct you to the line of questioning and inquiry that will help you heal from whatever you are going through. Those answers and those questions, they come from your own lineage. They don't come from the current system that you are married into. Your current system will just help you to question this. Okay? So try to question differently. Don't think of yourself as a victim at all. Okay? Whatever you're going through, whatever emotions you're going through, think of it as an experience and become curious. Instead of thinking of giving up on yourself and not doing anything about it, start questioning. Okay? So we got a little glimpse of how each system influences our perception of rituals like Kanyadan, like marriage, like how a life of a married woman should look like. Okay. So I'm coming to my own story slowly from here. Okay. So when I was 5 months old, okay, my mom was pregnant with my younger brother. And what happened was, she was going through a lot of emotional struggle because I was young. She had to manage me, and I also have an elder sister. So she had to manage her. And she also had this pregnancy where she did not know how to move ahead with it. She was physically getting weak, she was becoming sick, and she was also managing the sick, actually, the sickness of my grandmother. So, my paternal grandmother used to live with my mom and dad, and she was also managing her sickness. She was going through some sickness at that time when she was pregnant with my younger brother. So my mom processed this whole pregnancy in a very, very distressed state. And when I was working on my healing, I came to realize how, as a 5 month old, so what happens with a 5 month old baby? What happens with babies who are experiencing an environment of emotional distress in their mothers, in their home? What happens with babies, and what happens with their neural development? What happens with their bodies? It is not something that you remember consciously. You don't remember how you were perceiving things as a 5 month old, right? You don't remember that, but your body remembers. I'm going to repeat this sentence again and again, that your body remembers. Even if your mind does not know, your body knows. And what did my body perceive? So when I needed my mom, and when I needed an environment of love and support, there was so much distress, which was unintentional. It's not something that anybody is doing intentionally. Most of the perceptions that we carry is not because someone is at fault, ki kisi, so that you can blame somebody. No. Most of the perceptions that we carry is simply because of the situation, it is because of the environment, and it is because of the intergenerational perception that we carry from generations. My mom, during this time, had to go through the trouble alone. She could not share the news of pregnancy and the emotional distress with anybody else in the home. She was trying to protect her own mother-in-law, her distress. And it's almost like the secret of not talking about the first wife of my grandfather, how she had, how her baby was kept as a secret for so long in the family. When I look back and I think that, what gave my mom the courage to keep a news like pregnancy as a secret, it is only because of her own perception, her own fears that come from the lineage that comes before her. When I grew up and I started having relationships, most of my relationships, I used to keep them as a secret. I used to never share it with anybody, especially in my family. And all of that used to cause a lot of distress inside of me. And it was only when I started my healing work, I could start connecting the dots, and I could understand why there is this compulsion for me to keep things as a secret, for me to feel so fearful. And it all went back to the story of exclusion of the first wife of my grandfather, exclusion of the baby who could not survive. Even though my 5 month old body perceived this, I started reliving it only when I got married, I got into relationships. So there is a way when things activate. Okay, even though it was there in the body from 5-month-old time, but it only started acting up when I got married. So all of your beliefs, they are inside of you from a very young time. The template, the blueprint, there's this model in the background of how a wife should be, how a husband should be, how I should deal with uncomfortable situations, whether I can keep this, whether I can own my reality or I should keep it a secret. All of this is coming from a lot of background. You cannot blame yourself for it. You need to simply heal and understand what is the larger story and who you need to include in your heart. So when I was doing my healing work and I went back to this 5-month-old baby, I simply integrated this story and I included my mom in my heart. I included my aunt, great grandmother in my heart. And it started giving me a sense of freedom. It started giving me space to talk about who am I, to make clear conversation, to not hide behind the veil. So the testimony of that healing is when I am doing this class with all of you, and I don't feel the need of keeping anything as a secret. I have been a person who has always been so fearful of talking about things that are not socially acceptable. I have always kept those things as a secret. And the cost I paid of keeping it as a secret is destroying my own health, destroying my own ability to achieve whatever I want to achieve, destroying my own sleep cycles, becoming so tired from within, becoming disinterested in life. And all of this, it started healing and it started vanishing when I could include these stories that were in my body and simply they were acting itself without being processed and integrated. Okay, so today when I'm able to talk about this story, I don't feel the need to keep it as a secret. I don't feel scared that what will you think about me, and what will now what will happen, and where will my image go. So these kind of fears, they are not universal fears. They come from your own system. Okay, they simply come from your own system. Stories that are not talked about, stories that are excluded, they have a consciousness of its own. It is not like my grandfather or grandmother wanted me to go through depression. No, they never wanted this for me. But the unprocessed grief that is there in the system, it travels on its own, and somebody or the other will go through it. When I did my work and I connected with my grandfather, my grandmother, I realized they only want happiness for me. They don't want me to continue this. It is an unconscious way of traveling. These stories travel on its own. They have their own energy. They cannot be excluded. It is like, it is like outside of law of nature, if I may say that. Usually people in family don't talk about traumatic stories because they want to prevent the children from pain. You must have heard this in your families, right? That don't share this, faltu mein tension hoga, don't talk about this. If somebody has done something wrong, which is perceived as wrong, it will not be talked about. And it is like a weird obsession, like parents feel they can prevent this, but it is never being prevented. The things that we don't talk about, they become stronger and they travel in the background and they go to different people in the family and they start reliving themselves until someone has the courage to talk about it freely and include that particular member. Because every member, so I am going to share an order of family constellation, a law, if I may say, which simply says that every member is included in a family, no matter what, no matter what they do, no matter what happened with them. Even if children are miscarried or aborted, they are included in the system. They have a position in the system. You cannot take away that position. For example, my mom, like there is like, I have my younger brother and I have an elder sister, and my mom also went through a miscarriage before that. So I haven't seen my family going to social gatherings and saying that we have 4 children and 3 of them survived and 1 of them did not survive. This is not how we see people talking in crowds. However, I keep this in my journey. I realized this, and I now know that we are 4 and I'm the third one. So the position of the first one cannot be taken away simply because they are miscarried. And it is our job to include them in our heart. It is not our job to find justice for them and start, telling people that, you did this wrong and you did this right. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your own healing and your own expansion that comes from you. You can include them. You can understand whose story are you reliving and you can include them. For me, one of the biggest inclusions that I needed to do was of the first wife of my grandfather and her baby. And when I started understanding the relevance of it, my life changed. Okay. So usually people don't talk about stories to prevent the children from pain. In truth, they just don't know how to process the pain, and it's like an excuse, of not sharing it. But they are doing it in all good intention. They don't know that this is happening. Okay. They don't know that this is how hiding stories can affect children. But it does. Their knowing or not knowing does not prevent the children from the impact of the story. Everything that is hidden or excluded will find a way to come back, and it will happen in the most illogical, most toxic ways sometimes. Because until it is toxic, we don't become aware of it. We don't start questioning. Sometimes it is also appearing in the form of a disease. Sometimes it appears in the form of financial losses, sudden losses, like you will not be able to make sense of it. Sometimes it appears in the form of self-diminishment. Sometimes it can appear in the form of anxiety, depression. There are many ways. But if something is shunned away, disgraced, excluded, it will find a way back. Okay. So when we develop a systemic lens, we are able to understand, we are able to inquire, and we are able to integrate stories that we might be unconsciously reliving. These stories keep on traveling in the lineage, and it keeps affecting lives of descendants until someone starts processing and healing from it, until someone starts including it simply. Okay, so it's a process. Inclusion is a process that systemic constellation has taught us. And when I went through the process of inclusion, I could understand it myself. So when you go through it, you will understand what I'm talking about when you experience it yourself. Grief cannot be suppressed. I have seen that when I went through the processing of grief that was suppressed for 65 years in my lineage, it came out. How long will it be suppressed for? And I have seen the marriages before me, like my mom, my aunts, my sister, my elder sister. I have seen all of their marriages getting so much affected in different ways. Grief cannot be ignored. Members of a family cannot be forgotten. They have to be included. They have to be included. It's not necessary for you to like them, by the way. There can be people in the family whom you don't like. but that doesn't give you the license to exclude them. They are born into the family just like you are. They are becoming part of the family just like you are. So how can we exclude them? And not talking about them is a very, very, it is a way of exclusion. Okay. Members of a family are equally important no matter what happened or what they did or did not do, or how many years did they live for. It absolutely doesn't matter. Even if, you know, the incision of a member is enough for you to include them. It does not matter how many years they lived for, okay, or what they did and what they did not do. Everybody is born with their own journey. So we might not like them. That is very different, but we cannot exclude them. Okay. I actually started questioning so much about my, grandfather's first wife after my marriage. My mom used to get troubled by it almost, and she used to also like it. Me asking so much about her, it was almost a way of talking again and including her again in the family. And in last 4 years, so I got married 4 years ago. As of today, when I look back, the married self of me as of today, it is way different than who I was when I got married. And it is all because of the emotional processing that I have gone through. I did not give up, and I started inquiring and I started meeting professionals who can help me with this. So please don't give up and don't think that someone else is going to do it for you. It is your story. Okay, make it more expensive. Okay, find your courage to be vulnerable, and find your courage to meet people who can help you. Okay, any questions till now? Yeah, I'm going to stop share once. Any questions till now? My mom is here. My mom, I would like to call her. Mummy, can you come on video? Let's see if she's here. Yeah. So my mom is here. Mummy, can you come off mic?
Hello, everybody.
All right. So how do you feel, Mummy, that I am sharing this? I want to know from you also.
हम हिंदी में बोले.
हाँ, Hindi. Everybody is okay with Hindi? I think everyone is, yeah. Neha, you're okay, right? Deepa and Madhura?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
हमको तो तुम जो भी शेयर किया बहुत अच्छा लगा. और सब तो मेरा मतलब जो तुम एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हो वो सब तो हम खुद तुमसे पहले एक्सपीरियंस किया है. जो तुम बड़ी माँ, मेरी बड़ी माँ, योर नानी, देन मदर, माय मदर. जब हम लोग को उनके बारे में पता चला अपने पापा से, तो कभी हम लोग को ऐसे अलग सा कुछ नहीं लगा. बहुत अच्छा फीलिंग आया, क्योंकि डिपेंड करता है कि कोई आपको किसी के बारे में बता रहे हैं तो मतलब किस तरह से बता रहे हैं. तो जिस तरह से हमारे पापा ने हमारे सब भाई बहनों से शेयर किया उनके बारे में, वो एक अलग तरह से उनका जो मतलब क्या उनके इंटेंशन समझ लो, या उनका जो एक फीलिंग रहता था बताने का, वो इतना प्योर था कि वो प्योरिटी से ही हम लोग ने भी लिया उनके बारे में सब कुछ. और टिल डेट हम लोग यही फील करते हैं जैसे कि हम लोग सब उनके ही बच्चे हैं. मतलब मेरी मदर है, लेकिन वो भी हमारी मदर उतनी ही ज्यादा है जितनी कि अभी जो मदर से हम लोग आए इस दुनिया में. क्योंकि वो जो मेरे पापा ने बताया उनके बारे में, और जो उन्होंने उनको अपने मन में एक जगह दे रखी थी, उसका सारा इम्पैक्ट इतना अच्छा पड़ा कि हमारे मन में कभी कोई क्वेश्चन ही रेज नहीं हुआ.
So this is mummy, thank you mummy, and this actually reminds me to share something very important. So even though the purity that my mom is talking about, the purity and the honesty with which my grandfather used to share it with his daughter, and even though he was not knowing the impact, my mom was not knowing the impact, mujhe bhi impact nahi pata, nobody knew what is the impact of this suppression. But the purity, actually that honesty and purity is the gift that I have received also from my own lineage. That is the gift. So when we deal with the heavy emotions, the gift unleashes. That is the gift because of which I am able to share with all of you. My mom is able to come off screen and share her part of the story. It is simply because of the essence and the honesty that we started feeling, that I also started feeling after working on these heavy emotions, that honesty, it unleashed itself. So when you heal your heavy emotions, you will also receive a lot of resources from your lineage as gifts. And those gifts are the gifts that will help you to become who you are, whatever you want to do. And your courage will not go in vain, it will never go in vain. The more you show up and you keep working on it, your gifts will start unleashing. So, Mummy, can you just tell me one thing, that I started talking so much about, you know, your Badi Ma, and we also came to know that she had she was pregnant and there was going to be a son that we did not know earlier. So, how did you feel, Mummy, when I used to talk so much about her? Like, I never talked about her before my own problems, they started coming up and I started healing myself. तो आपको कैसा लगता था when I was talking so much about her and Nana ji and their previous marriage? आपको कैसा लगता है?
हम सही बोले बेटा. मेरे को जब भी कोई भी, मतलब नाना जी तो शुरू किए थे बताना जब हम 12-13 साल का होगा, तब फर्स्ट टाइम बोले थे. तब समझ भी नहीं आया था इतना कि
Right.
कौन बड़ी माँ. फिर थोड़ा जैसे पूछा उनसे तो वो बताए, थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन किए. तो मतलब पता नहीं, जो हम पहले तुमको लाइन बोला और जो जिसको तुम रिपीट किया, कि जिस प्योरिटी और ऑनेस्टी से उन्होंने बताया उनके बारे में, तो हमको मेरे को तो टिल डेट अभी भी कोई यदि उनके बारे में कितनी भी देर बात करे, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. मुझे ऐसा लगता है जैसे अभी भी वो आसपास रह के जैसे हम लोग को बहुत अच्छे से देख पा रही है. हम लोग नहीं देख पा रहे हैं, वो देख पा रही है, और हम लोग को अपना उतना ही ब्लेसिंग्स देती है जो शुरू से देते आई थी. और मेरे को तो मतलब मेरे को पर्सनली बहुत अच्छा लगता है उनके बारे में बात करके. कोई भी करे, बहुत खुशी होती है अंदर से. ऐसा नहीं कि क्यों इतना देर, मतलब कितना देर भी करो, कभी हमको ऐसे नहीं लगेगा कि अभी बंद कर दो ये बात.
Amazing, amazing. So I actually had so much resistance, I had so much resistance that what will my mom think? And if I start asking questions, and what if it will disturb her emotionally? We all start thinking a lot, we don't realize that it might actually end up helping. If you are questioning something from the depths of your soul, you don't know how it will start impacting the field of your family, how it will start helping your family way beyond you can imagine right now. And all of that will cause a ripple effect in your own development and healing. All of the strength that you think you can't have, you actually have it within you. And all you need to do is drop the judgment, become open to ask, seek help, and find people who can genuinely help you. Your husband who has not gone through the process, who has, a woman has a very different perspective of marriage than what a man has. And they both need to individually work on their mindset, their psyche to come together in harmony, you know. And you can only begin with your own development, on your own healing. When you start doing that, you start automatically influencing and impacting your relationship and your partnership. Okay, so stop thinking I used to get the most famous case, like jitne bhi maine relationship cases handle kiye hain, the first thing that every woman comes and tells me is like, fix my husband, fix my boyfriend. They I am not the problem, he is the problem. And he is supposed to be changed, and I am just sick of whatever is going on. And every time I came to understand and realize this more, even I was one of them. When I went for therapy, I was like, मुझ में कुछ नहीं है, मेरा पति ही प्रॉब्लम है, उसको ठीक कर दो. So I started realizing that it's not about them. Okay, it is about you. You need to work on your emotions. You need to see where your expectations come from, what makes you feel small, what makes you feel inadequate in your own self, what makes you so fearful that you are unable to communicate clearly, you are unable to be vulnerable, and you either become controlling or submissive, for example. We need to just find ways to connect, instead of thinking कि इसमें प्रॉब्लम है या मुझ में प्रॉब्लम है. Ultimately, what if either of us are not the problem? What if we are experiencing something and we can heal from it, right? Yes, Neha.
Yeah, Shruti, actually, I just want to ask one thing, that whenever I ask my mother about, our ancestors, my grandmother or my, Mama ji also, that day we were discussing. So my mother really gets very uncomfortable. She's not very comfortable with the idea that I'm reliving my past, reliving those painful memories. She will tell, अभी तुम्हें क्या करना है, छोड़ दो, मुझे भी याद नहीं है. Why are you getting so much into this? Why are you asking so many questions? So I mean, she gets very, very, uncomfortable whenever I ask her the questions. So I mean, how do I approach her so that she's also not feeling uncomfortable or uneasy about this?
Okay. So I used to face this with my dad, for example, and my dad, I think, is also there. I used to face this a lot with my dad when he used to simply say that क्यों struggle की बातें करनी है, वो तो हो गया, समय बीत चुका. And he used to not like questioning much initially. Especially nowadays he has become okay, he doesn't question that, he starts taking interest. But earlier he used to feel कि क्यों जाना है पास्ट में, स्ट्रगल तो अब बीत चुका. So I started talking about how these stories, so I started becoming okay with it, Neha. See, there are two ways. Okay, one way is like, I will tell you that talk to someone else. You might have had, so you might have uncles and aunts or someone else in your family who also knows about the stories, right? So you can talk to someone else. That is number one. Second is, our parents will be comfortable when I am comfortable. When I am not thinking of it as, when I'm not indirectly trying to blame them. It is my energy which will give them the comfort to talk about it. If I secretly feel resentful, and if I feel somewhere that this is because my mom did not tell me, or she's doing this with me, that energy, that doesn't allow them to be comfortable. When I am completely comfortable, like after a couple of years I became very comfortable, and there was no blame left inside of me, and automatically my parents became more comfortable in talking about their past. So it is an energy between two people. Okay. So tell me, Does this make sense, first of all?
Yeah, it does.
It does. So
Yeah.
first of all, you breathe into your centeredness, and when you ask, you simply tell your mom, I'm just being curious. I'm not, मैं ऐसा कुछ, because she's getting troubled for you. And that is happening because of some energy that is going from me to her. So if I am okay in my body, and if I'm simply asking a question out of curiosity, it might make her also comfortable. And it's not like you have to go through all that now. You can start asking someone else. Like I also spoke to my masis, my aunts sometimes, and I've also spoken to my dad's brothers sometimes, even though I haven't called them ever in life. Like, when I was calling my dad's elder brother to ask something, that was my first call to him in my entire life, Neha. I have never called him, and I did not think anything. I just called him, and I was like, I introduced myself, and I told him that I wanted to ask you some questions. Are you okay to answer them? And he actually ended up being very happy about it. So we need to find that courage to go beyond logic कि मेरा इनसे रिश्ता ही क्या है, for example, जो मैं call करूँ. It is my curiosity that will take me to places, and my comfort with the stories that will allow people also to tell me,
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. So try both. Try both. Drop that judgment for your mom from within. Don't think that it is her fault. And when you drop that judgment, you will find that connection with her. Like I could not connect with my mom for so many months. When I was going through my healing period, I could not connect with my mom for a very long time. Like emotionally, I became very resentful. And that was the resentment of that 5-month-old baby, probably, that was not processed in my body. So I processed it, and I started connecting with my mom again, and that connection changed itself. Okay. However, it is years of work. I know that our connection can still grow a lot from here as well. So it takes years and lifetimes. So there is no rush, first of all. There is no rush. And drop that judgment and come from a place of curiosity. Don't come from a place of, putting judgments and blame, and that will change the flow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Most welcome. Any other questions that you guys might have? No? Should I move ahead? Any other questions about systemic lens? Anything you want to know about it? Anything? No? Okay, so I will start sharing. I would like to know from Deepa and Madhur. I think this is your first time with my masterclass. I haven't seen you guys in other spaces, right? So, hi Deepa, can you just come on video for a minute?
Hi,
Yeah.
Shruti.
Hi. So I haven't seen you. So like, is this your first class that you're?
This is my first call with you. With
Okay.
you, it is my first. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you come to know about this, about me?
Okay. So I am actually part of ATIPS. So
Okay.
from there, I'm following a lot of people because I'm seeing their posts and all. And Naina is in TSM. She's my friend.
Okay.
So she spoke about, she had actually attended one class with Dr. Newton, which was about KANYA DAAN. So she and I, we are Dr. Newton's student. So
All
then when I came to know about that you are also doing such a class, so I just thought like attending.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for showing up. Means a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. Great meeting you. Okay.
Yeah. Same here.
Okay. Yes. Madhura, can you come on video? I would love to know how you came to know about me. Hi. Wait, you are on mute. Yes, yes.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Actually, I have subscribed. I got through Dr. I don't Dr. Gaurav Deka.
Okay.
Through him, I got to know about you. Then I started following you.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Then through WhatsApp, I got to know about it.
Okay. So this is your first time when you're attending?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Great. Great. Thank you for
I
showing.
have attended your recorded sessions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but live I'm this time, first time.
Okay. Awesome. Welcoming you. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So this was about sharing a glimpse. Okay. So I have not gone into the intricacies of how somatic healing works. I have not gone into the processes of it right now. And I want to share something with all of you that I'm coming up with starting in the month of August. Okay, so you all can see the screen. Yeah. Okay. So I'm coming up with an online space called Marriage School, which will begin in August 2023 and it will continue till March 2024. There will be a total of 20 sessions in between this period, and there will be 2 batches in which I will be doing this. And there is an early bird price that is going on right now, which is available till 30th of June. Okay. The first batch is, so you can take a screenshot of this if you want. So you can have the dates. So the first batch is going to happen every Saturday at 2:30 p.m. And so the Saturdays where the classes will happen, I have mentioned the dates. These are the 20 sessions. You can mark in your calendar. And the duration will be 120 minutes. It will go to 120 minutes. And each cohort will have 12 women inside of it. I will be working very intimately with these 12 women in the batch. And, I'm not taking anyone after that. And this period of 20 sessions will be filled with somatic healing. It will help you. I will give out tools which will help you do that self-inquiry for yourself. I will give you tools to heal yourself. We will do a lot of demo during these sessions. And what you will get out of it is you will know how to do a clear communication, how to stand up for yourself, how to feel that freedom from within and not feel the need to submit or control. So that healing will happen. And we will be developing our own systemic lens during this whole period so that we can be self-equipped and we can work on our emotions by our own self, right? This can only happen when you are willing to understand the root from where you come. Without understanding the root of your own existence, any other healing modality, anything else will probably help us temporarily, but going to the root and resolving from the root is what will give us a new foundation, a new template that we are looking for. Okay. So these are the dates of the first batch, and these are the dates of the second batch, which will happen on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. IST. So these are the dates. You can again take a screenshot of the dates here. And this will also have 12 women, and we will be working very closely. We will be working on developing systemic lens. We will be working on healing from systemic trauma, which is unconscious, unintentional, but it still remains in the body and our body remembers. So there will be a lot of somatic healing, and we will be unleashing our own systemic resources. Like in my case, one of the resources was this honesty and this purity that my mom spoke about, and how we are able to live that now. Otherwise, it remains hidden. The resources that we have, it remains hidden. And when we do our emotional work, they come up and we can embody and live it. So there will be intense healing work. We will go through our own respective intergenerational stories. We will see how we identify and we will work on it. We will be working on restoring your original personality, which simply means original essence, that essence which is within of you. Working on suppressed emotions and toxic belief systems that don't serve you anymore. Every week when we meet, we will be working on the belief systems. We will identify belief systems and we will release it from our body. We will be working on strengthening the roots of your psyche. All of this will automatically strengthen the roots of your psyche. Finding safety, connection, expression, and confidence in yourself. Finding resources from the lineage of your own family of origin. Okay, it comes from within. So this is the overall theme. Anybody has a question on this till now? Anybody? Or I should go ahead?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, is it only for married women, or it is for single women or unmarried also?
It is for, so for unmarried women, I will be taking a call, a consult call separately, and I will have some questions about
Okay.
their relationship history, and accordingly, you know, they will be a part of it or not a part of it. So for unmarried women, there is a scope, but I will be keeping individual calls with them. So Deepa, are you married or unmarried? Are you asking this for yourself?
Yeah, I'm unmarried.
Okay, so you can ping me on WhatsApp and we will get on
Sure,
a call and
sure.
we can decide from there. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Do you have a question? No? Should I move ahead then? All right. Okay. So now I'm sharing a very special offer. So first, let me share the early bird price and the regular price. So the early bird price, which is available till 30th June, is 1 lakh, INR 1 lakh. And the regular price, which is available from 1st July till 31st July, is 1,33,000. These are the prices for the whole period of marriage school from August till March 24. We will also have a WhatsApp community for each batch, for each cohort, and we will constantly be in touch during this whole time. Okay, so this is this is like an investment for the whole year, and for any healing work, for any somatic work to actually happen, it needs regular practice. And that is why I created a model which will require you to show up regularly and practice your tools regularly. We will be doing a lot of practice. So this is the price for the whole period. And now I'm going to share a very special, offer, which I only have till midnight today. And I'm releasing it firstly to all of you. So going to the next slide. So there is a special offer only for today, which is available till midnight. So this whole period, this whole subscription of marriage school is available at INR 70,000 only till midnight today. You need to send me a WhatsApp, text, share your selected cohort, like whether it is the Saturday or the Wednesday one, and share I am in, along with the payment screenshot of INR 70,000 to block your seat. This offer is available only for today till midnight. On receipt of your text, your registration will be confirmed and you will receive an email within 24 hours from our end. So yes, this is available only for today. And you can share the recording of this class with your circle of married women. I'm going to share the recording of this class after 15 minutes of the class, when it's over. You can share with your circle and you can share about this offer with people who you think will benefit from this. Okay. So I'm giving that, option to all of you. You can share and you can register at this fee only for today. So for early bird registration, the same process. You need to send a WhatsApp text, share your selected cohort, I am in, with the payment screenshot of 1 lakh and block your seat. And the same process is following. Allow yourself to experience the power of healing, the power of truth and expansion from within that happens when you connect with your roots. And there are only 12 seats available in each cohort. So please register before the batch is full. After that, I will be keeping your name in the wait list for next year. Okay. I will not be allowing any seat after 12. These are the bank details. You can take a screenshot again of the same. And let me know if you want me to share it on WhatsApp. Yeah. So thank you. And I hope to see you all in Marriage School. And I now open the field for any question or sharing of experiences, anything that you came to know about your marriage and your relationship from today's class. What were your observations? I would love to know. Please be willing to share. At least one takeaway I will take from everyone. So come on, come offline and share one takeaway. From there, I think if you want to share something more, you can share more. I will start with Madhura. Madhura, can you please, share any takeaway that you had from today?
Actually, I have learned that every emotion has a reason, and we should not take it lightly, be it a health reason or any sickness. Actually, I go through lot of sickness, be it an deficiency of any with vitamins and sudden hair loss. I just can't connect it with my body because I take a healthy diet. Everything I do properly, but still I face it.
Yeah.
So just trying to learn new ways to figure it out.
Yeah. So learning your systemic roots and understanding the root of the emotional experience that I go through when I'm sick, when I understand that and when I heal and I work on it, it will have physiological changes in my body. It is like understanding the background, working at the background so that the foreground automatically becomes what it has to become. For example, in a computer program, when you code something, the result is according to the code, right? The output is according to the code. For example, aap khana bana rahe hai. The ingredients that you put in the food, that will, and the way you cook it will actually contribute to the outcome, right? So when the outcome is there and uske baad hum upar se namak bhi dal de, kuch bhi kar le, but when we go to the root and we solve the problem at the root, the outcome will automatically shift. Okay, Madhura. So please know, I'm very happy that you could, understand that there is a reason for everything. So you don't blame yourself, drop judgment for yourself right now. Abhi aap apne aap ko bol do that I'm not going to judge myself for whatever is happening to me. And I'm going to be curious, I'm going to find ways, but I will not judge and I will not think of myself as inadequate or small or someone who is going through so much. So, that victim state, I will not go into that. Up, do that right now. Like just drop that. Apne andar you take a breath and you're like, I am dropping judgment. I will not judge myself. So let that be your tool for today,
Yes.
Let that be your tool. And I wish to definitely see you all in marriage school. So think
Yeah.
about it and see how you feel about it. Okay. And let me know if
Yes.
you have any questions. I've shared my WhatsApp contact. I will share
Yes.
PDF on the group and I will share the recording in the group. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Madhura.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to go to Deepa. I'm going to the people who came new today first. Yes, Deepa, what was your takeaway from today?
Actually, all the time I was extremely angry at Alia Bhatt's that ad, Kanya Dan Nahi Kanya Man. Like, what was that crap all
What
about?
is
I
that?
was getting angry at that. Okay.
Okay.
So I was like, अरे ये इससे revenge लेना पड़ेगा. So actually, I was into that revenge mode, like whatever is happening.
Okay.
So and past couple of years, I was actually never a believer of rituals and all. But past couple of years, I started understanding when I started understanding about family constellations, whatever is happening. Then I understood. अच्छा पापा गलत नहीं बोलते, पापा सही बोलते हैं. इसकी respect करो या उनसे बात करो. So it started happening within me, and I started realizing कि सब ritual का कुछ ना कुछ meaning है, right? But this Kanyadan, Kanyaman, when something is happening and we are not even aware about it, we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so important for us to really understand that behind each and everything, there is a meaning. So without meaning, we must not discard anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad that I could learn about, at least, like, I was hooked up to your story. Like, okay, abhi kya hua? Because I know about my family tree and all. Because my father doesn't know about family constellation and all, but he was always like, नहीं family के बारे में पता होना चाहिए. So I know about my 6th generation, 7th generation paternal, until 3rd to 4th generation in my maternal. So I'm
Okay.
aware about it. So it was like I was happy that I could connect the dots and all.
Okay. Okay. So I'm glad that you found meaning and also know that every meaning is very unique to every person because we are coming from our own family, Deepa. The fact that you were feeling that anger and revenge, I would say maybe that is also coming from your lineage. Check if women, and this might not make sense, but I'm just saying what I felt. Okay, Deepa. So check if women in your lineage have been able to express their anger, and if they have done that, have they been judged in the family? Is it like being angry makes you something, or I don't know what is it, but try to check what it means in your system. And even if we know the stories, like I knew about my grandfather's first wife when I was 22. When I turned 22, I came to know about her for the first time. But the somatic healing and the experience that I am repeating, and healing from that requires a lot of somatic healing, somatic work. And that is where family constellations and systemic work comes in, and it helps you at a very somatic level. So the emotions, the anger, the sadness, everything that is there inside, which comes up and goes back, okay, in fragments, that can be
Yeah.
integrated and processed so that you feel expansive and your ideas and choices become more expansive in life.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, great. Thank you for sharing. And yes, we will get on a call regarding, married and unmarried. We will.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes. One takeaway, Sneha.
So, reflecting on this chat and on my journey as a client, I understand one thing that, we have got a lot of resources from our ancestors than the struggles and the traumas. And our ancestors, like I put it in chat as well, that they don't want us to struggle. They don't want us to repeat their fates. They just only want to be remembered and included in the system. That's all is needed.
Yeah.
And even if we don't know their stories, like Neha mentioned, that I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
by just acknowledging them, by just including them in our system, it affects a lot
Yeah.
in a very positive way. And like when Deepa said that, sorry, it's your call, but I'm just sharing it because it just clicked me that when Deepa said about the rituals, I remember once Dr. Gaurav Baker said that, we just need to follow the rituals which our ancestors did because it is genetically imbibed in us and it only strengthens us. So, yes, I mean, media has, distorted it. The word Kanyadan, which you said that, they have changed the meaning of it. And for a long time, I also felt this as
Yeah.
if, my father has donated me now. Now it's like I am an object which doesn't belong to anyone. And I do not have any house of my own.
Yeah.
And this belief was, I guess, more colored by the media and the serials which we were exposed to while growing up. So yes, coming back to our roots and understanding what it literally means changes a lot of things. It changes a lot of perspective inside us.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for this. Thank you so much.
sharing. Yeah. Most welcome. Okay. So, Neha, your takeaway from today?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to come on screen to share this one. Again, Shruti, I want to thank you because, when you were sharing your story, I could so much relate to it because in some way I have also gone through the similar emotions the time I got married. The intense emotions of sadness, and I think it was acute depression. And since it was my love marriage, I had, blamed myself a big time for that. And now, when you were sharing your story, I could, how could, after just getting my, married, how could I see everything just opposite to what I was experiencing with my husband during courtship period? We had 5 to 6 years of courtship period. But the day I got married and the memories I have had of my marriage, I mean, that was completely different, and I started, doubting my decisions because that was my own decision, despite my family, my father especially, against my marriage. I started doubting myself, and for the last with so many years, I was so scared to even take any single decision, for that matter, buying a dress. Whenever I used to buy a dress, I used to doubt, nahi, ye to acha hi nahi hai, it is not suiting me, I wasted money. I mean, as simple as, you know, simple as buying a thing or going somewhere or doing anything for that matter of my own choice. I started putting my desires behind. I thought I don't have even sense to make a decision, so better not to make any decision. I mean, I can't tell you, this was so powerful for me to, uh, I mean, although uh, kind of I have overcome it, but then coming it from you, and then I was reliving, those years of pain.
Yeah.
Something, yeah, it so much made sense. I'm actually short of, I don't know, the words are actually, I'm fumbling basically. I'm not able to make sentences. But I think I'm able to convey what I want to. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Amazing. So much more power to you, Neha. And, every time we go through an emotional distress or disease, it is a way to include someone or something that is missing in the system. And it is very unique to each family system. When we become part of, so when I became part of systemic work, each of my day, every day, I used to think of people who came before me. I used to read about ancestral work. I used to read about systemic work. And I used to always go back to stories of my life. And I used to come back. Today, I am in a position where I can come back and talk about it. I have integrated it in my body. And the overwhelm, the heaviness of it has been processed through the work, through the tools that I have received over a period of years. And it is very important so that is the whole reason I have created this space for married women, for women going through relationship issues, to impart the same tools, not to donate, but to impart. So yeah, all of you please understand Kanya Daan. When you look at Kanya Daan, think of it as receiving blessings of your parents. Don't think of it as a giveaway or a separation that your parents have done for you. So think of it as impart, and you also start imparting wisdom in your life, and do whatever it takes to feel good. Yeah, okay, Sneha, thank you. Thank you, Neha. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm very happy it could take you back to your own experience and you could see resonance. So it's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. Mom, would you like to share something, Mummy? Share your takeaway. आज का takeaway.
हाँ, आज का टेक अवे मेरे को सबसे ज्यादा यही लगा बेटा कि मतलब शेयर करना चाहिए। जो भी पेरेंट्स है, स्टोरीज है, हम शेयर नहीं करते हैं कभी बड़े बच्चों से कि क्या होगा, जबकि मेरे को हमेशा ये रहता है नहीं, शेयर करना बहुत अच्छा है। जो भी मुझे पता है वो मेरे बच्चों को भी पता होना चाहिए। अच्छा या बुरा जो भी है, सब अच्छा भी नहीं होता, अच्छा बुरा कुछ नहीं होता है। जो भी बातें हैं हम अपने आप ही डिसाइड कर लेते हैं, नहीं नहीं ये अच्छी नहीं है, ये नहीं शेयर करते हैं, ये अच्छी है ये शेयर करते हैं, जबकि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। शेयर करने से बच्चों को बहुत उससे हेल्प मिलती है। और मतलब जैसे नाना जी ने हमसे शेयर किया तो हमको उससे बहुत ब्लेसिंग फील हुआ कि उन्होंने जिस तरह बताया हमें थ्रू आउट, बचपन से लेके टिल डेट, ऐसा लगता है कि हम लोग को एक ब्लेसिंग वाला फीलिंग ही आया है स्टार्टिंग से। तो शेयर किया तभी हम जान पाए। तो अभी मुझे लगता है जब उन्होंने शेयर किया तो कुछ भी है तो हम भी शेयर करेंगे अपने बच्चों से, तो बच्चे जानेंगे तो उनको भी उससे बहुत हेल्प मिलेगा। तो
Right.
मेरा टेकअवे यही है कि जो भी पेरेंट्स है, जो भी बड़े हैं या बच्चे हैं, बच्चों को भी कुछ शेयर करना है तो फ्रीली करें अपने बड़ों से, और बड़ों के पास कुछ है शेयर करने तो बच्चों से बहुत अच्छी से शेयर करें।
Amazing. Thank you, Mummy. Thank you. Thank you for
बेटा,
the amazing takeaway that we should not think before sharing stories of people in our family, and we should be free, we feel free and not categorize into good and bad. Jo hua, everything that has happened is a part of the field. It is a part of the family. So we can share, we can talk about it. Amazing. Thank you.
Shruti, just
Yeah.
want to ask one thing. Is it important to know the reason? Like you knew the reason about your great grandmother, the incident which made you feel that way? Because for me, I don't know the reason, but at least that awareness is there. Something must have happened because that can't be so. I mean, there has to be some reason behind me feeling that way. Is it important to get to know to that reason?
There is no universal answer to this. If you feel it is important for you to know more, like I felt it was very important for me to know. I used to keep working. I used to keep going for regressions. I used to keep going for constellations. Then I used to call my mom. I used to call others because I had that deeply embedded curiosity. I wanted to know the root. And when I felt as if it is done for me, it is only then I stopped inquiring further. So when you feel satisfied from within, you will know that I can stop here. But when you feel that no, I'm still going through some overwhelm, I'm still going through some pain, then I would say it is good to inquire more and ask more. You don't know what you will find. I did not know how much will I find when I start inquiring. So everybody will find what they need to know. So you will find what you need to know, but in a way, it is important to integrate your healing, to understand, to include the ancestor whose story I might be reliving, and to also work with my inner child who has gone through so much. So there are two aspects of it. One is working on my own inner child wound, and one is where I understand the intergenerational pattern and I include the story and I simply either it is an inclusion or inclusion of some kind, you know, that happens. So it took me a lot of time to understand inclusion at a somatic level. Like I got to know about the word very initially, but when I started appearing in spaces like, you know, constellations and working with intimate groups and one-on-one, तब मुझे realize हुआ कि inclusion is a very internal somatic experience, you know. And even knowing the story, you will know the story when you are ready. So if you are ready from within, you know, if you feel that I want to go to the next level of healing from here and I want to do whatever it takes, तो धीरे धीरे आपको रास्ते मिलेंगे. So it is your willingness, and there is no universal answer to this. Okay, your desire and your need.
Got it.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, everyone. I would like to end the class here. I would share the recording in a bit, and the offer that goes on only for today. If you want to enroll, let me know. And please feel free to share this class with your peer married women group, and feel free to share the offer. Okay? Okay. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Mummy, Papa, and thank you, everyone.